Hey y'all, it's Latondra Heaven back here with another episode of the Disruptor's Corner, where we expose enemy strategies and we equip and empower marketplace leaders who are part of the kingdom and who are kingdom driven to understand exactly how to disrupt those strategies in partnership with the Holy Spirit. And so I know that if you've been following me for any period of time, you're used to hearing my voice, but not so much seeing my face. Well, every now and then, I like to bring on a special guest just to have a conversation in the Disruptors Corner where we're just really talking about what is God doing? Um, what is our role in it? What is he doing in our lives? What is the enemy doing? And how is the Lord allowing us to circumvent all of the things that Satan is trying to throw at us so that we can't make the impact for the kingdom that God has called us to? And so today I am so excited because I have a really good friend. She's not just a guest. She's not a guest at all. She's a friend. And you'll learn more about that friendship and how it developed over the course of this conversation. But she's really special to me. Um, Kristine Goebel. She's the founder and the CEO of Accompany Suite, where she really has a heart to help organizations develop healthy teams, really focusing in on the relationship between those in the teams of the organization so that the organization itself can be healthy. And when an organization is healthy, you have to think the families of the members in the organization are happy too, because they're not bringing home all of that baggage. And so I just love this lady, and we're just going to jump into the conversation. We're going to see what the Lord has to say. So Kristine, welcome to the Disruptors Corner. So
Thank
good
you,
to see you.
Latondra. It's so good to be with you today in a same but different setting.
Yeah. And I want to start out because I know that you probably have a lot to say, even though none of this is scripted. We know that there has been a lot going on. Um, so you're a member of the Disruptors Council, and we'll talk more about that. But what I want to know right now to kick us off is, how exactly is the Lord disrupting your life right now?
Timing, right? So, what he's doing for me, especially at work, I would say it has just been everything that I have leaned on for support or for guidance, or that's been a comfort to me in some way. Saying, no, Kristine, just me. Just me, just me. And so, I know we always, we hold our companies loosely. We give it to the Lord. We do all of those things. But when it is just you and him, it is, uh, it can have that moment of where you feel like you're falling and like you're just going to, or walk off the cliff and you don't know what's next, but somehow he's there and he just keeps. So right now, that has been the theme of my workspace. Is I'm being pushed into, or guided, if you will, it sometimes feels like a push, into situations, that are very complex. And, it's like I've got to have all senses ready to rock and roll. But what's interesting about it on the home front is we are embarking on our youngest is graduating high school next month, and we also just became grandparents. So we've got all these like change happening all at the same time, and it's so fruitful from a just our relationship with the Lord, my husband and I. So it's I can't say that it's not easy, but I think it's the choice. It's always just the choice to be obedient and trust and not doubt, not waver on, get tossed around by the waves. I just don't want to do that anymore. Did that for too many years.
Yeah, haven't we both? As you were talking, I don't know. You remember that commercial years and years ago about I've fallen and I can't get up. When you said that, I know that sometimes it really does feel like that. And
Yeah.
it's easy for us to assume that in those moments that it's not God. And a lot of times it actually is God, even though it's not the most comfortable situation. I know Briston and I are currently reading through the book of Mark. And for those of you who don't know, Briston is my husband. We do everything together. Kristine knows him, but we are currently going through the book of Mark. And we came upon the the story about when Jesus was baptized and he went into the wilderness. um uh, we often hear, and I think it may be, I don't know which other gospel, one of the other gospels, the parallel story just says that he was led into the wilderness by the Holy Spirit. But it was interesting that in Mark it actually says that he was driven into the wilderness by the Holy Spirit. And when we looked that word up for driven, it was the exact same word that's used when they're talking about casting out demons. So that ekbalo is like the casting out, and just the whole imagery of how the Holy Spirit sometimes literally just thrusts you into the what seem to be the driest places, the most inconvenient places, the most uncomfortable places. And I don't know about you, but I know sometimes if I'm just going, when I hit those moments, my initial knee-jerk response is, oh, this is the devil. But we have to understand that it's probably God, because there's something that he's trying to do, something that he's trying to get out of us. And like Jesus, when we come out of those moments, then we come out in the power of the Holy Spirit, just like Jesus did. So it's important, not that we just go through that wilderness or whatever that situation is, but that we go through it the right way so that we can come out with power. And I know that walking with
Mm.
you over this past, man, 9, 10 months or whatever, I've seen how the Lord is taking you through. So tell us about some of the lessons that he's teaching you in this process.
Yeah. Well, with each one of them, I kind of have this moment of, and I'll hold my breath for a second, and then I'm like, oh, it's so good. And then I can breathe again. So like the human in me holds it, and then I'm able to release it. And so the thing that I've found the most interesting, and we have talked a lot about this, but how focused he is on my physical health. And so there are things, especially in the work that I do, that mental health is critical because I need to be able to have a sound mind and, keep working through things constantly, reworking. But the, like I've got to be steady. I've got to be on. I've got to be whatever, right? So I'm always reading, always learning, and all of that. And I've always known I needed to pay more attention to my physical health. That's not like a new thing. But in this season, he is showing me, no matter how many times I was trying to create like a strategy or a like area of my business that I needed to work on, he just kept pointing me back. Your physical health, Kristine, your physical health. Because without a really good, grasp on what physical health needs to look like for Kristine, not everybody else, but just me, I won't be able to do all the other things that he has for me to do, whether it's because of low vitality, it could be strength, who knows what. It might just be that I have to do a bunch of late nights and my body needs to be able to fall asleep, stay asleep, and then wake up, right? So just the simple things like that. But I think that that's been the most, this isn't really about me doing like a Tough Mudder or a, triathlon or anything like that. It really isn't that. It's more the sleep and the strength training and the watching that the food that I choose is fuel, is fuel for my brain and fuel for my body, and not just really tasty cake because it's so delicious, but then I feel terrible afterward. So just refining that part of my discipline, that it is honoring to him, what I choose to ingest. And, because if you think about it, we're good at, if a TV show for, say isn't good for your brain, and, most TV's junk anyway, right? So we know that, but yet, if I know scrolling isn't good for me, those are things for me, they're much easier to just put some boundaries on it, or, once in a while, but I can stop that pretty easily. Food though, like, he's showing me not just how it's going to be important for my future, but he's also shown me how it's affected my past, and how things in my childhood, that just was everything revolved around food. My parents were not the thinnest people. And so we just always just enjoyed food. Like, it wasn't even a thought to bake and enjoy, and full people were kind of it was kind of cultural to us to be bigger and be, embracing all of those things, but not realizing that it became like this emotional go-to. So instead of, talking to a friend, I would just go enjoy a box of cookies or something like that. And so I don't know why, but for some reason, the food portion of it and the physical health and the focus on that has been the most disruptive thing to me, especially because I have 3 sons, a daughter-in-law, a grandson, and a husband. So there's a lot of boys, and my boys are all physically active. And so what they need to eat is different than what I need to eat. And so I have to be really careful as far as just my own discipline, because there's always things around that just my body does not do well with. So that's been the most disruptive, because it has been a go-to. Instead, like when I'm stressed out or really happy or any emotion that's anything extreme, I just grab food. And instead of just going to the Lord and saying, okay, feed me that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, that's kind of convicting. I know I was actually sitting and thinking one day, not too long ago, is just about, even my relationship with food, and how um food is not just a physical thing, and it's not even just an emotional thing. I know you mentioned the emotional eating, but I believe that food is also spiritual thing, and so, Jesus said, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. Um, but I love bread. Like, bread is one of my favorite things in the world, you know?
Bring it down, right?
Yes. And Jesus also said that my meat is to do the will of my Father,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I am a carnivore. I am a meat and bread, potatoes type of person. Um, and I know that, the Lord has really been convicting me a lot lately just about just my relationship with food, and understanding that my body is a temple, and it does no good for me to be praying about all of these things. Like, the Lord has given me some insight
Yeah.
into my future, as it relates to what it is that he's calling me to do, all of those things. But it makes no sense for me to be praying about all of those things while I'm sabotaging my temple, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, like, where is the strength? I can't pray for strength if I'm constantly relinquishing my strength by what I'm putting inside of my body. And I know that, it last year really was a wake up call for me, just a matter of, you've got to take care of yourself. And this is the story where I would say Kristine really, really entered into the picture for me. I had a major surgery last year, nothing life threatening, but it was considered a major surgery after about 2 years of physical challenges. And Kristine was a dedicated prayer person. She was a dedicated intercessor for me before I even really knew her. Um, it really wasn't until after I had the surgery that we really connected at a level, at the level that we are now. But for almost a year, you were interceding for me and for my health. So thank you so much for just being faithful, for praying for somebody you didn't even really know, and for being so faithful with that. Um, but it was after that that I realized, okay, the Lord gave me 3 months to recover. And I'm like, I've got to do better taking care of myself. And so I really do understand what you're talking about as it relates to the physical, the disruption as it relates to food and just healthcare. Um, you also said something, and I want you to elaborate on this a little bit more. You said you have to do the diet that works for you and not what everybody else is doing. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit more? Because, we have a lot of um, health experts, and there are a lot of fitness experts and a lot of nutritionists who will say, do this, don't do that. Get rid of this, add this. And it seems to be more of a standard across the board thing. Help me to understand where that revelation came for you, that just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean that that's what I'm supposed to do. Because I think that's important when you're talking
Yeah.
about being disruptive.
Yeah. I mean, I think the whole thing is like you have got to know yourself. And we were not created all the same. Like we're different on purpose. And so because we're made differently, there's these unique things about us. And so for me, there were a couple little health things, and a lot of it was probably fueled more by stress in the workplace, stress, things like that. But I had been working with a nurse practitioner for years, and it was basically like, oh, this number's off. Let's change the diet to this or add this supplement. And it was very much like what you were saying. Like it was a try the Mediterranean diet, try Whole30, try this, try that. And like, not that any of them are bad. Like for some people, they're great. But I did notice the Whole30 diet. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I've never felt better. I've never this, I've never that. But nothing was changing, and I couldn't figure out why. Then when you and I really started working together and I started doing a little bit of homework, I started recognizing that I could actually look back and see what was where was I, what was I doing, and what was different about the choices I was making when things looked good for my blood work and when things did not look good for my blood work. When things look good, whether it's heart health or your liver or your hormones or whatever it is. I mean, especially as we get to be the age we are, everyone is always trying to fix their hormones, right?
Yes.
It's just like an ongoing thing. But what I started to realize was certain components inside of a lot of those diets were like counterproductive. They were actually causing more of the issue than the other thing. And so as it relates to relationships, right? No two relationships are the same. I can't give the same, like I'm the same, right? I don't change. I'm me. But some people are going to need a certain part of me, and some people are going to need another part of me. Some people need me to be more direct. Some people need me to help them find their way there, right? And so this is really not very different from that. It's just a level of if I can be emotionally intelligent enough to know how to communicate with a large group of human beings, I certainly can grow in my own self-awareness and my own self-management which is a large part, it's half of emotional intelligence, right? Is that I have to manage myself. And I also have to understand if I took like the social awareness and relationship management part of emotional intelligence, and I just said, okay, my social awareness to food is this, and my relationship management to food, as if food was a person, and I kind of put it through the same lens that I'll work most relationships through at work, right? So it's like funny because you could be like an expert in this area and not apply it anywhere else. It's kind of like the landscaper's lawn is never cut kind of thing, And so you don't realize how quick you can identify all these things. But I have to have that same relationship with my body, because if I'm not, and this is a work in process, like I've not figured it out completely. I'm, entering into this disruptive place, right? So it's very raw. It's very new. It's very, I'm navigating it, but I took advice for years that did nothing. My husband has a very similar story. You take all this medical advice, all this whatever, and you're in the same exact place that you were when you started. And in business, how often do we do the same thing, right? You do the same thing and you get the same results, and you're trying to figure out why, because you haven't changed anything. And so just getting to know my body a little bit better and paying attention to not trying to change everything, but change small things. My plate has to be veggies. It has to be veggies. And at first I was like, oh, where's my bread? Where's my this? Where's my that? And then eventually, even meat has become once in a while, I'll have a little bit of chicken or a little bit of turkey, but I don't eat red meat anymore. I never thought I'd be able to do that. And then I just can. Like, I can sit and my husband can have a beautiful piece of meat, because for his body, it doesn't have the same effect on his body that it has on my body. So he should enjoy it. And I shouldn't feel bad about the fact that he can enjoy it and I can't. And he doesn't necessarily feel bad, but he will abstain if I'm like, oh, I really want the steak. And then he'll make a different choice, but just fish and vegetables is pretty much my life, with the occasional piece of cake. And if it's birthdays, if it's, special occasions, I'll dabble here and there. And my daughter-in-law makes a crazy good sourdough bread, so I definitely enjoy that. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, was not all or nothing, right? Which is, cognitively that's distorted, right? All or nothing thinking. So if I started looking at food like all or nothing, it actually created more stress, because I was trying to adhere to something, until I finally got to the point where I was like, moderation. Like, I can enjoy a taste of something and not need to eat all of it. So I can enjoy uh, the fruitfulness of what it is like to grow in business and not need to attack everyone around me and compete. We've talked about this a lot, of like,
Yeah.
this is us coming together. Like, we are all, if we band together, we're going to be so much louder than any of us are if we're alone. And so I'm kind of applying that to the same, you know, individuals. I have to be healthy individually, but so that, right? So that we can multiply and be with others, simplify and multiply all at the same time.
Yeah, simplify and multiply all at the same time. I love that. We don't have to get caught up in the extremes of everything, because, we can think that we all good intentions of doing what's right, um, and being so extreme with it. But in that extreme comes resistance that we probably would not even need to experience. Um, it's amazing how, the enemy can use what is good against us, which is why we have to pay attention and be so vigilant. And I love how you talk about the self-awareness. being aware of yourself, being, understanding, who has God created you to be? How has he created you? Um, and what he has given you, what he's asking you to do, what that has to do with anything else. You know what I mean? Just kind of seeing how all of those things work together um, helps you to make a better decision, a wiser decision, rather than just jumping off the ledge because you feel like this is the only way that I can fix it. When God is like, okay, when you're being spirit led, sometimes it may just be a tweak. It's not a cold turkey type of thing. You know what I mean? So I love that whole matter of awareness and assessing your situation where you are now. I love that. Yes. So I have to tell this story, Kristine, because I want to hear from you. So when I was recovering, um, I'm sorry, my eyes are just like
You're
they're just
good.
going at it, right? Yeah, I'm not crying, but they're just going at it, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yes. So during my recovery time, that was a moment where, for the first time in my real adult life, I was actually able to be still without any distractions, no responsibilities because everybody was waiting on me hand and foot, and it was just a wonderful time where I could just sit with the Lord with nothing competing. And he started working with me concerning some things and reigniting some things. So out of that time came the Disruptors Council, right? The idea of a community of kingdom marketplace leaders who understand that this is not just business as usual. This is not just a natural thing. Even our businesses, when we're dedicating it to the Lord, they become um, just like a place of warfare because the enemy is going to do whatever he can in order to stop what God is trying to do. Even though he can't do it, he's going
Mhm.
to attempt to do it. And we've heard a lot about how, the marketplace is probably going to be like the next place of revival, because that's where the people really are. And so I was talking with Briston about this, and he was like, "Yeah, I think that's really what the Lord is doing." I'm like, "Okay." So I started kind of putting some stuff together, working on the landing page and all of that, and I wasn't ready. Like I was really just in the beginning stages of getting this thing up. And then the next thing I know, a registration came through. And I'm like, how did that happen? Because I haven't publicized this. Like, I'm still working on it. I'm not done yet. I'm not ready. And so I found out that Briston had a conversation with you, or something happened. I don't know how it happened, but um, he started promoting something when I wasn't even ready. And I'm like, oh, now what do I do, God? Because I'm not ready. I'm thinking 3, 4 months down the road. And it's like, okay, no, you're going to start doing this now. And she's paid something. So if she's paid, I've got to do something. So Lord, help me out. Help me to understand, why did you do that so fast?
Yeah.
What was going on in your head that as soon as Briston mentioned something, you were like, okay, I've got to do this now instead of waiting
Yeah.
until she's finished?
Yeah. So what was happening on my side was I had been praying for some very specific things. So on my side of it, I knew I needed to be around. I've been part of different like peer advisory groups and this, that, and the other thing, but I've not been able to find a place where I can get real help because I tend to be the helper, right? So I'm like, I've got to find a place. And then I was like, I want to work with a female. And so I knew female, but they've got to be strong, no nonsense. Like you got to hit hard and fast with me. But I wanted to be around people. And I've always loved the whole group thought, or just insight, to glean from. And then I started thinking about you, and I was like, well, she's recovering right now. When she's feeling better, I'll reach out and see if she's going to work with anybody, or, if she'd be willing to work with me a little bit. And I don't know, it was like within days of that. Um, I don't know if I can't even remember anymore if he had sent me an email or somehow, it must have been through email that I was like, ooh, I didn't know she was doing something. I'm totally jumping in on that. And yeah, because I already knew I wanted to ask to work with you. I just didn't know in what capacity. So then I was like, get to work with her and a group of people. Like, this is insane. Um, and I don't know. For me, I don't know about you, but man, the time has gone so fast, and we've gone incredibly, we've covered so much ground in so much short period of time. But the thing that stands out to me the most is how everyone is reaching these places of development that they had specifically for them, and still going, right? So it wasn't like we set a goal, reached a goal, and oh, yay, it was no, set a goal, hit the goal, new goal, new goal, new goal. And it's been very methodical, just like, okay, I want to work with somebody. I want to work with a female. I want to work with Latondra. Can't work with her yet, God, because she's still recovering. God's like, yeah, I know. Hey, Briston, and then it just unfolded. So it's kind of the same. It's the same, so subtle and so whatever. Um, I it is the thing. I look forward to it so much that I'm trying to make sure everything's booked around it, because the times that I've had to either leave early because of a scheduling, like something that was already on my schedule, or the things you can't control,
Yeah.
it bothers me when I can't be there. So yeah, so that's how that all happened.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that I appreciate you. And, I am learning and setting goals right alongside everyone else. So, I joke around and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but apparently God does. And so my only responsibility is to follow him from session to session, and whatever he decides he wants to do, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And I'm growing in the process. So thank you for being the first one to just jump in even when I wasn't ready, and just kind of kicking me out of the nest and forcing me to do it, because I might still be planning if it hadn't been for you making um that first registration. So for anyone who's listening, if the Lord has placed something on your heart, or he's given you instructions to do something, um but you don't feel ready, you don't have all of your ducks in a row, I'll just say, so what? That's basically what it is. So what? Um, I am a testimony of what can happen when you don't know what you're doing and you do it anyway. Um, it's 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 a journey. Do the thing. Do the thing, because there are actually people like Kristine who literally are praying for you to do something. You just don't know it. So step it up and do what you're called to do. Yeah. Kristine, how would you encourage someone who, or what? Okay. I'm going to say this because, I'm not much of an encourager, right? I like to provoke. I like to, get you to a point where you're just like, okay, something has got to change and I've got to step up and do something. So how would you provoke someone who knows deep down that there is more? They know deep down that God is drawing them to step it up, but for whatever reason, they are not doing it. That's just the simplest way to do it. They're not doing it, and there may be a number of reasons, but at the end of the day, no matter how many reasons we have for not doing the thing, it's still disobedience, and God is still saying, do it. So, how would you provoke someone to trust the Lord and just do the thing? What would you say to them?
Yeah, usually, and this response could go for anything that they're facing. I usually just try to get them in the mindset of, if they're like, well, I can't because, and then just flipping it to what if you could? Or what if you did have the money? What if you did have the resources? What if you did have the team? What if you did? What would it look like then? And just get them starting to think about the other side of it. Now, what is going to happen if you continue to do nothing? Because by doing nothing, you're still making the choice. Then what happens? And so sometimes you can help to encourage because you can see you can see possibility. I mean, that's all anybody's really looking for is if you know you're somewhere and you know you want it to be different, you have to have some idea of what you want to be different because there's a pulling, a tugging. And I'm sure just like you, no matter how much I dream up something, the good stuff's always better than I could have ever imagined. And the bad things that I was certain were going to happen didn't, not to the degree in which I thought they were going to happen. Right. So even the stuff that's challenging and it really can be an adventure. And I would just encourage people like your life is an adventure and it is short. It is short. This is coming from I still consider myself a kid, but like both my parents are deceased. So for me, timeline has always been really short. Um, and so each day you look at it like this is your opportunities now. Like this is exciting. It's exciting. And you know what? Yep, you might fall flat on your face and you get back up and you do it again and you do it again and you do it again because nobody sees all the practice rounds we go through, right? So people could be looking at you and I right now thinking, man, well, when I get there, that's what I'm trying to do, da da da. And I'm sure you get it too, but like people look at you thinking you have it all figured out and you're like, what? Like,
Have nothing figured out.
far from it, like spend 10 minutes with me and you'll see like this ain't figured out, right? But what I am is I'm sure and I know I have a lot of clarity on what I'm called to do. I have a lot of clarity about my gift. I didn't always though. I didn't always. And so being patient, there is no timeline on that, right? So we have to make sure that in God's time, things get revealed to us. And sometimes it has been revealed and we're choosing to not see it. And more often than not, that's the case. So the encouragement comes, find that thing that's always been true about you forever. Like what's the thing that even as a kid, I couldn't have stopped you from exploring this or thinking about that or tinkering on that or singing with the birds or, making a bunch of noise. Like whatever it is, there's something about you that's always been true. And when you can get on that, get on the adventure, learn what the voice of God sounds like. Once you know, and I think it's different for a lot of us, but once you know how he communicates with you, that's so incredibly intimate between the two of you. Like stuff will get you down, but it won't keep you down. It won't keep you down. Just get back up and be surrounded by this, like what we're doing, Latondra, is it, like I get to see different parts of who he is through you. Right. So it's just, to me, that's like when we talk about simplify and multiply, like all I have to do is pay attention to you. And then the multiplication happens because he can take what he's given to me and what he's given to you and all of our people that we get to spend time with every month. When he puts these together, and that would be like, if I were to do a rally cry, all these groups and people meeting together and trying to figure out business or trying to figure out this or that. And it's all important. I'm not, the thing that they miss so often is that you've got to get together. Like you all like coming together, learning, and then going out and doing your own thing. That's not going to do it. It's the coming together, the learning about each other, the understanding each other's business, and then figuring out like, now what? How does this amplify? How does this multiply? How do we cover more ground together? What's our thing that we're doing together in addition to all the places he sends us? But while we're still a group and together, like it's more purposeful than just coming together to learn something new to move on. It's so much
Right.
bigger than that. It's so much bigger than that. And so these relationships are critical, especially in a time of technology like we are right now. It's everything's happening so fast, so fast, so fast that you feel like you're missing out on all this stuff just because now we are just conditioned to the speed. And so when you can slow down long enough to enjoy, that's why he made us this way, right? That's why we're interesting and weird and quirky and right? Because it's just so fascinating. You know what I mean? Like, oh, the people are just so fascinating and they're totally messed up. Right? So it's like
Are
it's
we?
so
We are.
cool. We
Yes.
are. It's a hot mess of what, right? But it's just so exciting to me. And I like that's like I love not only what I get to do with people, the people I have met along the way, every client's family member, right? Like you learn something from everybody. Um, so yeah, that's my very long answer to
Yeah.
that, but
No, that's
yeah.
good. That's
Yeah.
good. What I get from that, like the main thing that sticks out to me is we're the body. You're talking about you have all of these different groups and everybody's trying to do their own thing, but what would happen if they came together, to know each other, learn about each other, support one another, work together? It's the body where every joint is supplied, right? There's nothing missing, there's nothing lacking. I don't have it all together, but there is something that I don't have that you do. And so oftentimes we get stuck in our own heads about the things that we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the Lord is constantly asking us the same question that he asked Moses when he called Moses to go back to Pharaoh. He was like, what is that in your hand? What do you have in your hand? So instead of focusing on what you don't have, that lack,
Mm.
focusing on what you do have, because it's what you do have that he wants to multiply, right? And so what you do have complements and supplements what the next person has. When everyone comes together and bring what they have, then they have all things. Oops, I'm sorry. They have all things in common.
Yeah.
I hit, yeah, I'm over here making noises,
I'm like, she's like, yeah.
Yeah. So, we have all things in common,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I bring what I have, you bring what you have, and we all have what we need. And if we could have that mind shift, I believe that we would all have a lot more confidence in taking the leap and just trusting the Lord to do what he's called us to do, knowing that because we're not complete by ourselves, but we're complete in him and we're complete alongside the rest of the body, then like what else do we need, right? So that is so good. And that's what I love about you all in the council, because everybody just comes and there's no masks. Nobody is coming there pretending like we have it all together. We realize from session to session, oh, we're all messed up, right? But we're messed up together and we're getting healed together. We're growing together. And it's such a beautiful thing when we can put self aside, right? And come into the context of community, because that's really, I mean, that's the heartbeat of God, is community. So I appreciate you. I just want to let you know how much I'm thankful that you and Chris, your husband, are in our lives. And I know that we do some of the same things as it relates to business, but we're already talking about what is that going to look like with us working together, because we don't see each other as competitors, right?
Correct. Yes.
And I just love that. I love that I love that about us.
I do. I do too. I do too. Because God, right? Like, he does such cool stuff. And I think this is a really important thing to bring up. As we're kind of wrapping up, that people, I just had a conversation with a really young, just getting ready to graduate college. And the struggle they were having was that, well, everybody wants to be in this space. And, what do I do? There's so many people, it's flooded with people, da da da. And, I would give her the same advice that I would give somebody who's been in business forever, because if that's what you focus on, that's what you're going to see. All you're going to see is, how can I even be stand out amongst the crowd or stand out in the noise, right? Until you start seeing that you're like one big orchestra, right? And there's multiple parts of it. But what my team, even though we're in the same industry, what we do is same industry, different, right? And so if now you take those two different pieces together and you multiplied it, instead of it being separate, they're together, right? So if I'm got something I'm trying to figure out, and I know you've got something that will help surface that faster, or help that person get there, just because the technique is a little bit different. If I know that, why wouldn't I put them there? Why wouldn't I give them every single resource that's available to them? And so that is what makes you stand out, is you understand that you're part of something larger. This is like an ecosystem. There's not a bunch of silos, right? So the same business principles that apply of, how do we get the culture right, where I get everybody working together? Well, we all become louder when we're each other's microphone, right? Like, we all will. And, just be genuinely yourself, and just go and do and try. Because what if everything your heart desires was possible? And if he knows the desires of your heart and it's his will to be done, go get it.
Yes. Okay, and we're going to close out on after I make this statement, because I
Okay.
couldn't help but think about this when you mentioned the orchestra illustration. We both play the same instrument. We both play the clarinet. Like that is our thing, right? We
Yes.
found that out over dinner.
We should have brought them out on this podcast.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe we have to do a redo another day so that we can bring our clarinets out. But we both play the clarinet, right? In the same orchestra, so to speak, if we look at it like that. But even those who play the same instruments have different parts. You have the first clarinet, the second clarinet, the third clarinet. You have melody here and harmony here, and it all works together, right? So even playing the same instrument, we still have something different to bring to the table, because if it was just one of us, then the piece wouldn't sound as good. It would be very monotonous, very very bland, very boring. But it's only when you have all of the parts, even if you're playing the same instrument, that you get to hear the beauty of what is being created in that moment. So that's what I thought about. I was like, yeah, we should have had clarinets, but yeah.
I love it. I love it. I think mine needs a little bit of a tune up, but yeah, no, it's so good. That's so true. I love that. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a great way to wrap it up.
Yeah. So as we wrap up, tell us if anyone wants to get in contact with you, how would they find you?
Okay, so all over social. So my Kristine Goebel, you could just Google it, and that would give you me. But our business is Accompany Suite, ACCOMPANYSUITE. Probably every iteration of that, I also have a domain for that pointing back to Accompany Suite. So we're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We have a YouTube channel with lots of how-to videos all around. Usually it's around behaviors in business, org development, operations, things of that nature, hiring to termination, sorts of cultural things like that. Yeah, that's the best place. You are always welcome to reach out. Hello@accompanysuite.com would take you directly into our email. Or just go to our website and see what you like.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kristine, for joining me today. And if there are any of you who have questions about the Disruptors Council that Kristine and I have been talking about, I'll drop the link in the show notes and you can go there, or you can just reach out to me if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with you.